There comes a moment in every man's life when he realizes his greatest battles aren't fought with the world outside, but within himself. It's not the competition at work, not the critics, not even the obstacles life throws at him. The real enemy? His doubts, emotions, and weaknesses whisper in his mind. Maybe you've felt it before. The frustration of losing control in an argument, the regret of making an impulsive decision, or the disappointment of breaking a promise to yourself. You tell yourself you'll be stronger next time, that you'll react differently. But when the moment comes, your emotions take over again, and you feel powerless all over again. That's the battle you fight every day. The question is, will you win? The answer lies in mastering emotional strength, not letting fear dictate your choices, not allowing anger to control your words, and not seeking validation from others. This is the foundation of true resilience, self-respect, and power. Today, we're diving into 11 habits that separate the emotionally weak from the emotionally unshakable. These are the habits that build men who can walk through fire and remain standing. The kind of men who command respect, not because they demand it, but because they embody it. So listen closely, because by the end of this video, you won't just understand emotional strength, you'll be on your way to mastering it. Before we begin, drop a comment. What is the biggest emotional challenge you've faced as a man? Let's build a conversation that makes us all stronger. 1. Control what's within your power. There are two types of men in this world: those who waste their energy on what they can't control, and those who take command of what they can. One stays stuck in frustration, blaming the world for his misfortunes. The other moves forward, no matter the storm. I learned this the hard way. The market crashed, and I lost a promising deal. I could have complained about the economy, blamed the system, and wallowed in frustration. But that wouldn't bring the deal back. So I focused on what I could control, adapting, finding new clients, and making smarter investments. Instead of drowning in circumstances, I took charge of my response. Life is ruthless. Plans fall apart. People betray you. The world is unpredictable. But your reaction? That's yours to command. You plan a weekend getaway, and the weather turns against you. Do you spend the day complaining, scrolling through your phone in frustration? Or do you shift, adapt, and make the best of it? The weak man obsesses over the uncontrollable. The strong man focuses on what he can change. Most people waste years of their lives worrying about things beyond their grasp: politics, the opinions of others, economic downturns, and past regrets. They let external chaos dictate their internal peace. But what would happen if you cut away all that noise and concentrated only on what's truly in your hands? Marcus Aurelius, a Stoic emperor who faced betrayals, wars, and plagues, once wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." Let that sink in. Your power is not in controlling the world. It's in controlling yourself. Imagine standing in the middle of a battlefield. Chaos everywhere, arrows flying, the enemy advancing. You have two choices: try to stop every arrow, control every soldier, and dictate the battle's outcome, or focus on your next move, your strategy, and your actions. Only one of these will keep you alive. Only one of these will give you real power. The mentally weak man tries to fix everything outside himself, manipulating people, demanding fairness, and expecting life to bow to his will. And when it doesn't, he breaks. The Stoic man chooses his battles wisely. He knows that wasted energy is wasted life. He understands that his strength isn't determined by the circumstances he faces, but by how he chooses to respond. Some men let a single bad moment ruin their entire day. They hold on to resentment, letting a careless comment from a stranger or a minor inconvenience control their emotions. Others know that their time, energy, and focus are far too valuable to be given away so easily. They don't waste energy on what they can't change. Instead, they master themselves. Stop. Take a deep breath. Ask yourself, what am I focusing on that's out of my control? What can I control right now in this moment? Where is my energy going? Am I wasting it on things that don't serve me? Your attitude, your discipline, your reactions, your habits, these are yours. No one can take them from you. You can't control how people treat you, but you can control how you respond. You can't control the past, but you can control how you move forward. You can't control the storms that hit your life, but you can control how you stand in them. The next time something outside your control tries to ruin your day, pause. Remember, it only ruins your day if you let it. Someone cuts you off in traffic. A coworker makes a snide remark. Bad news lands in your inbox. These things may shake you, but they don't define you. They are merely events. It is your reaction that determines your power. Today, when something frustrates you, traffic, an argument, bad news, pause and ask yourself, can I control this? If the answer is no, let it go. Redirect your energy, own your reactions, own your mind. The battle isn't out there, it's inside you. Will you master it, or will you let the world dictate your strength? You decide. 2. Pause before reacting. Master your emotions. A car cuts you off in traffic, your heart pounds, your hands grip the wheel, and your first instinct is to honk, shout, or chase them down. You feel the heat rising in your chest, the surge of frustration demanding an outlet. But then, you stop. You take a deep breath. You remind yourself, is this worth my peace? Instead of letting someone else's carelessness ruin your day, you choose to let it go. That moment, that pause, is power. If you are easily provoked, you are easily controlled. The world is full of triggers, people who insult, situations that frustrate, unexpected events that challenge your patience. Weak men react, strong men pause. This reminds me of family gatherings, those seemingly innocent get-togethers that always find their way to heated debates. It starts with small talk, catching up, and reminiscing about old stories. But before long, politics enter the conversation. A relative, knowing exactly how to push my buttons, throws out a baited remark, waiting for me to react. I used to fall for it every time. My pulse quickened, my voice sharpened, and suddenly I was dragged into a debate that left me drained, frustrated, and wondering why I even engaged. But then, I learned the power of silence. Stoics understood that emotional control is the foundation of strength. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You don't have to turn this into something. It doesn't have to upset you." In other words, nothing has power over you unless you give it power. The impulse to react immediately is a weakness. True strength comes from calm, calculated responses. Every time you pause before reacting, you are proving that you own your mind, that you are not a puppet to circumstance. Imagine standing on the battlefield, arrows flying, soldiers screaming. The weak warrior, driven by impulse, charges forward without thinking, exposing himself to attack. The wise warrior? He observes. He reads the battlefield. He waits for the right moment to strike, when it matters. In the same way, life will throw attacks at you, an insulting remark, a frustrating delay, a moment of deep disappointment. Will you react blindly, or will you pause, breathe, and respond with wisdom? When something angers you, take a deep breath before responding. When someone insults you, resist the urge to defend yourself immediately. When faced with unexpected challenges, give yourself a moment of stillness before deciding your next move. This one practice can change everything. Most people don't control their emotions control them. This is why they lash out, why they regret their words, why they sabotage relationships and opportunities. But you are not most people. The next time someone tries to provoke you, whether it's a stranger in traffic, a colleague undermining you, or a relative baiting you into an argument, stop. Instead of reacting, ask yourself, is this worth my energy? Will this matter tomorrow? A man who controls his reactions controls his life. Let others waste their time in anger, in frustration, in pointless battles. You move forward. Test yourself today. Find one moment where you would normally react impulsively. Pause instead. See how it shifts the power in your favor. Feel how much control you truly have. Because in the end, real strength isn't loud. It's silent, steady, and unshakable. 3. Live by your own values. If you live for their approval, you will die from their rejection. You're at a social event. Someone hands you a drink, encouraging you to join the crowd. A few others urge you to gamble, to loosen up, and have fun. The pressure is subtle but relentless. A weak man gives in, afraid of judgment, seeking acceptance. But a strong man? He stands firm. He doesn't apologize for his choices. He doesn't need validation. I once received a high-paying job offer. The salary was more than I had ever made. But there was a catch. The job required me to compromise my integrity. I had to manipulate numbers, deceive clients, and prioritize profit over honesty. I could have justified it, told myself that everyone bends the rules, that money was worth it. But I knew one thing: once you sell your integrity, you never get it back. So I walked away, and I have never regretted that decision. Most people live their lives according to what others expect of them. What society says they should do, what their friends approve of, what their family believes is right. But a man who lives for approval will always be a prisoner. There is a high price to pay for pleasing others. You lose yourself. You become a reflection of their expectations, a puppet controlled by their opinions. Men who lead don't conform. They stand. They define their own path. Think of a lighthouse. It does not move to please the waves. It does not shift with the storm. It stands firm, guiding those who seek its light. You must be the same. If you constantly adjust yourself to fit others, you will never build a foundation strong enough to withstand life's trials. The Stoics understood this well. Epictetus said, "Know first who you are, and then adorn yourself accordingly." You must define your values before the world defines them for you. So what do you stand for? If you haven't decided, someone else will decide for you. Society will hand you a script and tell you how to act, what to chase, and what to believe. And before you know it, you will wake up a stranger in your own life, wondering how you got here. True strength comes from knowing who you are and refusing to compromise that for anyone. This doesn't mean being stubborn or refusing to grow. It means aligning your actions with your deepest principles, even when it's inconvenient, even when it costs you something. The next time someone pressures you to do something against your values, whether it's a social expectation, a career decision, or a moral compromise, pause. Ask yourself, am I making this choice for me, or am I afraid of what they'll think? Your life is yours. Your choices define you. Make sure they reflect the man you want to be. Today, take a moment and write down 3 core values you refuse to compromise. Keep them close. Let them guide you. Because in the end, the world doesn't respect those who conform. It follows those who stand firm. So stand, without apology, without hesitation, without fear. 4. Accept injustice without letting it break. Have you ever faced a situation where you did everything right, yet the outcome was unfair? You worked harder than anyone, but someone else took the credit. You followed the rules, but life still handed you the short end of the stick. You sought justice, but the world remained indifferent. The truth is harsh but simple. Life is not fair. It never was, and it never will be. The strongest men don't waste time complaining about this. They accept it and move forward. A storm does not apologize for the destruction it causes. A wildfire does not care what stands in its way. The world is indifferent to fairness, and if you expect it to treat you justly, you will be disappointed. But here's the real challenge. Will you let that break you, or will you adapt and rise above it? Imagine this. You propose an idea in a meeting, and it's ignored. A week later, a colleague presented the same idea, and suddenly it was brilliant. The unfairness stings. The urge to confront, to demand recognition, to lash out, it all builds inside you. But then you stop. You remember, real power is not in proving a point. It's in proving your worth through undeniable success. Instead of wasting energy on anger, you document your contributions. You refine your ideas. You make your work so strong that no one can ignore it. Your success becomes your loudest statement. Stoics knew this well. Epictetus, once a slave, had every reason to resent his fate, but he didn't. He understood that he could not control the world's injustice, only his response to it. He turned his suffering into wisdom, his hardship into strength. Unfairness is not an excuse for failure. It is a test of resilience. When faced with injustice, ask yourself, will this situation define me, or will I define how I respond to it? History remembers those who endured, not those who complained. A warrior in battle does not cry that the enemy has more soldiers. He fights smarter. A leader does not break under betrayal. He moves strategically. A strong man does not waste his energy trying to change the past. He focuses on what he can do next. The world will not always reward you for doing the right thing. Promotions will be given to less deserving people. Betrayals will come from those you trusted. Your efforts will sometimes be ignored. But your strength is measured not by what happens to you, but by how you rise in spite of it. So what do you do when injustice strikes? You adapt. You learn. You become so strong that no unfairness can hold you down. Instead of reacting emotionally, you make your next move with purpose. Instead of demanding recognition, you become undeniable. The next time you face injustice, pause. Instead of wasting energy on resentment, channel it into self-mastery. Let your actions speak louder than your outrage. Let your success be the only response the world cannot ignore. Because in the end, life is not about waiting for fairness. It's about becoming the kind of man who thrives, regardless of it. 5. Learn the power of silence. A man who speaks too much, who reacts to every provocation, who always feels the need to explain himself, is a man with no control. His words are cheap, his presence predictable, and his emotions easy to manipulate. But a man who masters silence? He is dangerous. He commands respect without demanding it. Controlled silence forces people to pay attention. Look at the most powerful men in history: leaders, warriors, thinkers. They don't waste words. They speak when necessary, and when they do, people listen. Warren Buffett rarely speaks in public unless it is absolutely necessary. This deliberate scarcity makes his words more valuable. When he speaks, the world listens. Contrast that with the man who talks endlessly, who argues at every opportunity, who cannot resist responding to every challenge. His words hold no weight because they are given away too freely. In a meeting, a colleague mocks you in front of others, expecting a reaction. You could defend yourself, argue back, or try to prove your worth. But instead, you remain silent. The room shifts. The one who tried to embarrass you suddenly feels exposed, insecure, and desperate for a response that never comes. Your silence is your strength. Silence is not a weakness. It is not avoidance. It is controlled. It allows you to choose your battles, to respond only when it benefits you, and to maintain power over your emotions. The Stoics knew this well. Marcus Aurelius, one of the most powerful men in history, ruled an empire with a mind trained in restraint. He wrote, "The best revenge is to be unlike the one who wronged you." Most people think strength is about dominance, about proving yourself in every conversation. But the strongest men don't need to prove anything. They let their actions speak. They let their silence make others uncomfortable. They know that when they do choose to speak, it will carry weight. Think about the last time you were in an argument. Did speaking more help, or did it escalate the situation? Often, the best way to win is to say nothing at all. Let the other person burn themselves out. Let them reveal their weaknesses while you observe. Silence gives you time to think, time to decide if a response is even worth it. Time to ensure that when you do speak, it is intentional, powerful, and precise. In a world where everyone is desperate to be heard, the man who can remain silent commands the most attention. The next time you feel the urge to react, pause. Let the silence settle. Let others feel the discomfort of not knowing your thoughts. Let your restraint be your power. Because in the end, the man who speaks only when necessary is the man whose words will be remembered. And the man who masters silence, he controls the room. 6. Reflect on your daily actions. A man who never stops to examine himself is a man who drifts through life, repeating the same mistakes, trapped in the same cycles, wondering why nothing ever changes. Most people live on autopilot. They wake up, follow the same routine, react to whatever the day throws at them, and go to sleep, never questioning their choices, never learning, never improving. Days become months, months become years, and suddenly they wonder why they feel stuck, why their lives lack meaning. But the Stoics knew better. Self-reflection is the key to self-mastery. Marcus Aurelius, the most powerful man of his time, ruled an empire and led armies, and yet, every night he took time to write in his journal, to reflect, to examine, to improve. If a man who commanded the world could do this, why can't you? Imagine a warrior sharpening his sword at the end of each battle. He inspects the blade for dull edges, for cracks, ensuring that when the next fight comes, he is ready. Your mind, your character, your habits, these are your weapons. If you don't sharpen them daily, they will fail you when you need them most. Every mistake unexamined is a lesson wasted. Think about it. How many times have you lost your temper over something trivial? How many opportunities have you missed because of hesitation? How many bad habits do you repeat simply because you never take a moment to ask yourself, why am I doing this? How can I do better? A man fails a test but never studies his mistakes, so he fails again. A businessman loses a deal but never reviews what went wrong, so he keeps losing. A husband argues with his wife but never reflects on his tone, his words, so the fights never stop. The pattern repeats, not because they are incapable, but because they refuse to examine themselves. But the man who reflects, he breaks the cycle. He doesn't just live, he learns. Reflection isn't about dwelling on the past. It's about learning from it and applying those lessons to the future. It's about taking responsibility for your actions and refining your behavior. Most people avoid this because self-examination is uncomfortable. It forces you to confront your flaws, your weaknesses, and your regrets, but ignoring them doesn't make them disappear. It makes them stronger. If you're not improving, you're stagnating. And if you're stagnating, you're falling behind. Growth doesn't happen by accident. It happens when you consciously correct yourself every single day. Before you go to bed tonight, ask yourself, did I let my emotions control me today? Did I handle my responsibilities like a man should? What did I do well, and what must I do better tomorrow? Write it down. It doesn't have to be long, a few lines, a few thoughts. But over time, this habit will separate you from other men. It will refine you, discipline you, and keep you from making the same mistakes twice. Some men go through life making the same errors over and over again. Others take notes, adjust, and improve. Which one are you? Because a man who reflects is a man who grows, and a man who grows, he is unstoppable. 7. Learn the art of letting go. Have you ever felt trapped by your own mind, replaying the past, holding on to anger, regret, or disappointment? Most suffering doesn't come from what happens to us. It comes from our attachment to how we think things should be. A friend betrays your trust. You dwell on it for weeks, replaying the conversation, imagining what you should have said. A relationship ends, and instead of moving forward, you cling to what was, refusing to accept what is. An opportunity slips away, and instead of seeking the next one, you let regret poison your motivation. The more you hold on, the heavier it becomes. You are carrying a weight that was never meant to be yours. Bruce Lee once said, "Be like water. Water doesn't resist, it flows. When it meets an obstacle, it moves around it. It adapts. It doesn't waste energy fighting what cannot be changed." But most people do the opposite. They cling, they resist, they refuse to accept reality, believing that if they just hold on tighter, things will go back to the way they were. The Stoics understood that true strength lies in letting go. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "If you are distressed by anything external, it is not the thing itself that troubles you, but your judgment about it, and this you have the power to revoke at any moment." Think about that. Your pain is not caused by the event itself, but by your refusal to accept it. A man wastes years of his life resenting a business partner who betrayed him. Another man learns from the experience, cuts ties, and builds something stronger. One remains stuck, the other moves forward. Which one do you want to be? Letting go is not a weakness. It's not surrender. It's power. It means choosing not to let the past dictate your future. It means focusing your energy on what you can build, not what has been broken. If you've been betrayed, let go, not because they deserve forgiveness, but because you deserve peace. If you've lost something valuable, let go, not because it doesn't matter, but because holding on won't bring it back. If life didn't go the way you planned, let go, not because it's fair, but because clinging to an old plan blinds you to new opportunities. The question isn't whether you will experience loss. You will. The question is whether you will become bitter or become better. Starting today, take inventory of what you're holding on to, the resentment, the regret, the expectations that reality refuses to meet. Acknowledge them, accept them, then release them. Because in the end, the strongest man is not the one who holds on the longest. It's the one who knows when to let go. 8. Set clear priorities. If you don't control your time, distractions will. The modern world is built to steal your attention, to keep you busy but unproductive, occupied but unfulfilled. Most men are not in control of their own lives. They wake up, check their phones, scroll through the news, answer emails, rush to work, handle whatever comes their way, and then collapse at the end of the day, exhausted but no closer to their goals. A man without clear priorities is like a ship without a compass. He moves but without direction. He works, but without purpose. He is constantly reacting instead of creating. Distractions are not just social media or meaningless conversations. Distractions are anything that takes time away from what truly matters. Spending hours with people who lack motivation, working on things that don't align with your purpose, saying yes to obligations that drain you. This is how life slips away. The Stoics understood the value of time. Seneca wrote, "It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste much of it." Most people do not lack time, they lack focus. Setting clear priorities means making deliberate choices. It means understanding what truly adds value to your life and eliminating everything else. Imagine you're filling a jar. If you put in the small things first, random obligations, pointless arguments, unnecessary meetings, there's no room for what matters. But if you start with the big things, your goals, your health, your family, your purpose, everything else has to fit around them. A man who prioritizes wisely will always outperform a man who merely works hard. He doesn't waste his energy on trivial battles. He doesn't get distracted by what others think he should do. He decides where his time and focus go. If your schedule is filled with things that don't serve your long-term vision, your life is being dictated by external forces. Your priorities must be yours, not your employer's, not society's, not anyone else's. Instead of letting work consume your time, set boundaries. Make space for the things that bring meaning. Spend time with your family without distractions. Take care of your health like your future depends on it, because it does. Invest time in self-improvement, learning, and building something that matters. The strongest men are ruthless with their time. They say no to anything that doesn't align with their purpose. They are not afraid to walk away from obligations that drain them. They do not entertain meaningless conversations, gossip, or mindless entertainment. Look at your day. Where is your time going? Who is taking it from you? What are you giving away that you should be protecting? Starting today, set clear priorities. Write them down. Protect them fiercely. Let them guide your decisions. Because in the end, a man who controls his time controls his life, and a man who controls his life controls his destiny. 9. Discipline equals freedom. A man who waits for motivation is a man who will always be waiting. Strength, real unshakable strength, does not come from doing what feels good. It comes from doing what must be done, regardless of how you feel. You don't feel like waking up early? Get up anyway. You don't feel like working out? Hit the gym. You don't feel like tackling that hard task? Do it first, because the man who controls his actions, despite his emotions, controls his life. I used to hate mornings. The alarm would go off and I'd hit snooze. 5 more minutes, then 10. Before I knew it, I was rushing, scrambling, already behind. My day controlled me instead of the other way around. But the day I forced myself to wake up early, to take control, everything changed. I had time to think, time to plan, time to move with intention. Discipline gave me freedom. The Stoics understood this well. Epictetus said, "Freedom is the control over oneself." Most people mistake freedom for doing whatever they want. But true freedom? It comes from mastery over your own impulses. Think of a warrior. He trains every day, not because he feels like it, but because he must. When the battle comes, he does not panic. He is prepared. Now think of the man who lacks discipline. He sleeps in, eats whatever he wants, skips the hard work, and avoids discomfort. And when life challenges him, he crumbles. Discipline is what separates the weak from the strong. The undisciplined man is a slave to his cravings, his emotions, his excuses. The disciplined man, he is free. Free to be stronger, to be sharper, to shape his own future. Jocko Willink, a man who has lived and breathed this philosophy, put it simply: discipline equals freedom. Do you want success? Discipline yourself. Do you want peace of mind? Control your habits. Do you want to be the kind of man who commands respect? Earn it through discipline. It starts small. Wake up when you say you will. Finish the task you set for yourself. Stick to your commitments, even when it's hard. Each time you do this, you reinforce the most powerful belief: you are in control. The world is full of distractions, temptations, and easy ways out. But the strongest men are those who ignore the noise and stay on the path. Tonight, before you sleep, ask yourself, did I control my day, or did my day control me? If the answer is the latter, tomorrow, you change that. Because in the end, The man who disciplines himself is the man who owns his life. 10. Cultivate gratitude. Most people live in a constant state of dissatisfaction. They focus on what's missing, what they don't have, what went wrong. They compare their lives to others, always chasing, always wanting more. And in doing so, they blind themselves to what they already have. The man who lacks gratitude sees only scarcity, never enough money, never enough success, never enough recognition. But the man who practices gratitude, he sees abundance, even in struggle. He understands that every hardship carries a lesson, and every moment is an opportunity. A warrior who only focuses on his wounds forgets that he survived the battle. A businessman who only sees his failures ignores the fact that he is still in the game. A man who constantly complains about his circumstances forgets that someone, somewhere, would give anything to trade places with him. Gratitude is not about ignoring difficulties. It's about recognizing that even in hard times, there is something to appreciate. Think about the last time you were truly thankful. Was it after a success? After overcoming an obstacle? Or was it in a quiet moment, watching the sunrise, feeling the warmth of a loved one's presence, experiencing the simple pleasure of being alive? The Stoics understood this deeply. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Do not indulge in dreams of what you lack. Rather, reflect on the blessings of what you have." If you only seek gratitude in big wins, you will miss it in daily life. A strong man doesn't wait for everything to be perfect before he feels grateful. He finds gratitude where he is, with what he has. Scientists have confirmed what the Stoics knew centuries ago. Practicing gratitude rewires the brain. It reduces stress, strengthens emotional resilience, and increases overall happiness. A grateful mind is a strong mind. A man who wakes up complaining starts his day weak. A man who wakes up grateful starts his day with power. If you train yourself to look for things to appreciate, your entire mindset shifts. Instead of seeing obstacles, you see opportunities. Instead of feeling entitled, you feel empowered. Instead of focusing on what's missing, you focus on what's possible. Start simple. Every morning, write down 3 things you're grateful for. It could be your health, your ability to learn, or even the fact that you woke up today. Over time, this habit changes how you see the world. The next time you face a challenge, pause. Instead of asking, "Why is this happening to me?" ask, "What can I learn from this?" Because a man who is truly grateful is unbreakable. He does not fold under pressure. He does not waste time in self-pity. He recognizes that every struggle sharpens him, every failure teaches him, and every day is another chance to grow. Train your mind to see the good, cultivate gratitude, and watch how your life transforms. 11. Set a daily purpose. A man who wakes up without a purpose is a man who drifts. He lets the day control him instead of taking control of the day. He reacts to whatever happens, moving without direction, wasting time, and wondering why life feels stagnant. But a man with purpose, he wakes up with clarity. He knows what needs to be done. He doesn't waste time checking notifications first thing in the morning. He doesn't start his day in a fog. He moves with intention. The Stoics believed in the power of focus. Marcus Aurelius, the ruler of one of the greatest empires in history, wrote daily reflections to remind himself of his duty, his principles, and his mission. If a man with the weight of an empire on his shoulders could take a moment to define his purpose every day, so can you. It doesn't have to be complicated. Set one clear objective every morning. Something meaningful, something that moves you forward. It could be as simple as finishing an important project, strengthening a key relationship, improving in a skill or discipline, overcoming a personal weakness. Even a small goal, when pursued with full commitment, builds strength over time. The point isn't just to get things done, it's to live with deliberate action. Think of an archer aiming at a target. If he doesn't pick a clear point to shoot at, his arrows scatter, wasted. But if he locks in on his goal, every shot has intention and precision. Your days are no different. The difference between a man who achieves and a man who merely exists is the ability to set purpose daily. A ship without a destination is at the mercy of the waves. It moves, but with no control over where it's going. But a ship with a clear course, it arrives where it intends to go. And here's the truth. Most people let life push them around. They wake up, check their phone, drift from task to task, let distractions pull them in different directions. And at the end of the day, they wonder why they feel like nothing changed. Don't be that man. The key to living a purposeful life is not found in grand visions alone. It's built in small, daily wins. Because the man who knows what he must do today is the man who will shape his tomorrow. Tomorrow morning, before the noise of the world drowns your thoughts, write down one thing that must be accomplished. Just one. Let that be your anchor for the day. Let that guide your actions, because a man with purpose doesn't just move, he moves forward. Life is not about what happens to you, it's about how you respond. Emotional strength is not built in a single moment, but through daily discipline, self-reflection, and intentional action. Every choice you make, every habit you build, and every battle you fight within yourself determines the man you become. The Stoics understood this well. They knew that true power doesn't come from controlling the outside world. It comes from mastering your mind, your reactions, and your discipline. You've now learned 11 habits that will forge emotional resilience. Controlling what's within your power, pausing before reacting, living by your own values, and setting clear priorities. These are not just ideas. They are tools, practical, actionable ways to reclaim control over your emotions and your life. But knowing is not enough. You must apply these lessons. Train yourself to reflect daily, to choose discipline over comfort, and to set a clear purpose for every day. Growth does not happen by accident. It happens when you deliberately shape the man you are becoming. Now, I challenge you, which of these habits will you start implementing today? Which one has already shaped your journey? Share your story in the comments. Let's learn from each other. Because in the end, a man who builds emotional strength is not just unshakable, he is unstoppable.